Shall we lock the doors? GOTO Con. It's a new generation of programmers, isn't it? Us old haggle programmers. Can we go to a GOTO conference? A GOTO conference? Maybe a Go Sub conference. Most of you don't even understand this, do you? Most of you don't even get that GOTO is considered harmful. Ah, oh, dear, dear, dear. How words get recycled. Welcome to my talk. There we are. The end of projects and what happens next. Most of you work on projects, don't you? Do you even know what a project is? I suspect not. I suspect some of you are in for a bit of a surprise. The end of projects and what happens next. This often goes by the hashtag no projects. We tried using the hashtag beyond projects for a while. That uses 4 extra letters. In Twitter, that's a lot of real estate. It's an idea that was kind of brewing in my mind, and there's a couple of guys who deserve some credit, Joshua Arnold and Steve Smith. And between us, we all kind of came to the conclusion that projects as conceived by organizations are wrong and don't work. And the interesting thing is, the kind of angle that Steve Smith came from and Joshua Arnold came from and I came, were all kind of slightly different. They all kind of complemented each other. I'm the one who picked up the baton, and I'm probably best known for running with it these days. And there's a lot of their thinking in this presentation, a lot of their ideas in here. And I long ago stopped knowing which bit was mine and which bit was Steve's and which bit was Josh's. And yeah, anyway, if you've not met me before, I know some of you had the bad luck to have me inside your companies where I've managed to do irrevocable damage. I'm Allan Kelly. I'm really a writer. I'd like nothing more than to sit at home with my keyboard and write books. But as you might have heard, that doesn't pay the bills. Maybe it pays Dave's mortgage, but it doesn't pay my mortgage. So I get out into the wide world and I do training courses for people. I'm sometimes here at Skills Matter doing training courses. And I do consulting. I don't use the word Agile coach because I think what most Agile people call coaching is giving advice. And that's what people pay me for. They value what's in my head. They don't value me for being a marriage counsellor. So I'm an Agile consultant of sorts. That's my original book, which is a fairly deep look at learning and knowledge and how it maps into Agile better. That's the hardcore book on the software business, hardly mentions Agile at all. And that's the book, what I wrote accidentally recently in the last couple of years. And that's the same book. There's different covers. Zampan, my hybrid extreme programming Kanban, is a book I wrote using a system called LeanPub. How many of you know LeanPub? How many of you tried writing a book with LeanPub? Yeah. You write a bit and you post it up on LeanPub. And if people like it, they get it. They even pay you money for it. You can even charge. You can write. You don't have to write a whole chapter. You can write a few pages, and you can put it on sale. And if people like it and you're motivated, you can write a few more pages and a few more pages. You can add a chapter and a chapter after another. Friends of mine had used LeanPub and recommended it, and because I'd written books, I was kind of curious. So I started playing around with it and posting some stuff up there. And you know what? People bought it. Now, we talk a lot about feedback in Agile, but you know what the best feedback is? Money. Money is the best feedback. You know this when you go for your performance review and your manager says, well, great job you've done, but unfortunately it's a hard time for the bank and there'll be no bonus this year, right? When you get money as feedback, it's information. The amount of money you get, the fact that somebody is deciding not to buy cinema tickets, they are giving you money, that is feedback. And when you get that kind of feedback, okay, it doesn't pay my mortgage. You know, I've got a slush fund on PayPal of a few $100s. So I'm buying software from the US, I might use it. It doesn't pay the mortgage, but it tells me people value this stuff. So there's a problem. And this book and LeanPub kind of summarize it. I can write chapters and I can sell, and people keep buying it. When am I done? When am I finished? These books, I had a formal contract with the publisher. And it laid out a table of content, and it laid out an end date, and it laid out some other details too. Didn't say what had to be in the books. I had to write the books to know what would be in the books. But we had a formal contract. Most people who write books, I'm reliably told, extend their deadline and miss their deadlines. My wife once said to me, I think you'll be the only author who ever finishes before the deadline. I laughed. I mentioned this to my publisher and she said, you know what, I think she's right. I had, within the deadline, I didn't finish because I reached the deadline. I finished because I'd written everything I wanted to write. I'd done the table of content. I was done. Both those books. That's a project. You are done because you've hit a deadline. There's no more time. You are done because you've done everything on your list. Yeah? In a world where people keep thinking of changing new ideas, changing requirements, the things we used to resist in the old days, being agile, we embrace change and we take on all those requirements. And in a world where we're valuing those requirements and you're doing the highest priority ones, the highest valuable ones, and they keep coming in and you keep doing the highest value and you keep earning more money than you'll be asked for. And in a world where you're releasing every 2 weeks, every 2 days, every 2 minutes maybe, when are you done? On what criteria would you say you are done? I could write and I could add more to this book and I could get more money, and every time I had a chapter and I tweeted it, I knew a few more people would buy it. And because it's digital, all the people who've bought it before get the latest copy. There's no need for them to wait until I've finished. You can get some and you can read it. And if there's a new copy, you'll get an email telling you to update your Kindle, update your iPad, whatever. When are you done? When is that book done? I got bored of writing it, so I decided to call it done. At that stage, I had to invoke a batch process called a copy editor. I had to pay somebody to come and copy edit my work, which is good. And I called it done, and I put it through a print-on-demand publisher, and it sat there for 6 months. And then I decided I wanted to actually make it available on Amazon. If you're going to make it available on Amazon, blah, 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 I better have a proper cover. So recently I paid someone to produce a cover for me. Another bit of a batch process. And if you buy the physical copy, you can buy the physical copy. If you're lucky, you could even beg this off me at the end. If you buy the physical copy, I can update it. But if you buy the lean pub version, you'll get told about updates. It'll get updated and it'll get changed. Not very regularly now. Occasionally I change something. And these days I'm on to Zampan 2, the next edition. Projects. Problem number 1, the benefits. Anyone recognize this? Anyone do project manager training? This is how we judge the success of a project. On schedule, on budget, on quality. Quality and features get mixed up because there are some people in this world who believe quality is a dial on the wall and when you dial it down you go faster. Doesn't apply in software. If you know somebody who believes that doing lower quality in software is a way of going faster, they don't belong in our industry. In quality, if you want to go faster, you dial it up. So project managers talk about quality, we usually mean features. Yeah? We judge project success on these 3 criteria. Do you see the problem? Where's the money? Are you judged on schedule, budget, quality when you're at the end of the month, when you go home? You think, I haven't got very much in my pay packet, but you know what? I finished the month on schedule. Yeah. We're in business to make money. Okay, some of you do open source, but most of you, you're in business to make money. Where's the money? Where's the value? Where's the benefit? If your success criteria are schedule, budget, and cost, where's the money? Underlying the project model are some assumptions. Assumption 1, the value is known. Before we begin the project, we know how much value we're going to get. The second is there's no valuable inflexibility. If you're doing a project and you start to see there's something over there that is more valuable, if you see there's some other requirements over here, you're supposed to do what's over here. If you say, I'll do the valuable thing, and you don't do the thing you were supposed to do, you could do a load of really valuable stuff, but you'd still fail because you've not done the stuff you're supposed to do. These are 2 really big assumptions that underlie the project model. And the problem is, they don't hold in software development. Requirements change, the world changes. We're in the center of the city, we're in the center of the banking community. Could you imagine if on September the 13th, 2008, you'd gone home, you had the perfect project, you had the perfect plan, you had the perfect people, everything was in place to do the perfect project. You went home on September the 13th, 2008. It was all perfect. 9 o'clock Monday morning, you were going to do the perfect project, right? The world changed, didn't it, on Sunday evening when Lehman Brothers went out of business. How many banking projects looked the same on that Monday morning as they did on the Friday? The world changes and we can't stop it. Capers Jones, if you've not come across him, he's an American who spent most of the last 40 or 50 years analysing software projects, used to work for IBM. He came up with this figure in his book. In the US, requirements change at the rate of 2% per month. You got a 100-page requirements document that was written a year ago? 24% changed. Or rather, think of your mortgage. Compound interest applies. That's actually a change of about 27%. You got a 100-page document, and it was written a year ago. 27% of that document needs to be thrown away. The longer you spend writing that document before you start cutting code, the more it's going to change, because the clock starts when you start writing the document, not when you start writing code. It gets worse. This is getting a little bit old now, but I'm assured I could find similar surveys that could say similar things. Survey of IT directors and managers from 2006 from Cranfield. Our survey said 70% of these managers believe they're failing to identify and quantify benefits adequately. 70% of IT managers. 38% admit to openly overstating the benefits in order to obtain funding. I know you wouldn't do this. But if you work with somebody who does, you've got to be stupid not to do it yourself. Because if this guy over here keeps exaggerating his benefits and his projects keep getting funded and yours don't, you'd be silly not to join him and start faking it too. 38% openly admit. How many would admit it behind closed doors after a couple of beers, I wonder? Gets worse. 80% report review and evaluation. Let's face it, too many of us just miss evaluation altogether. Evaluation is the feedback step that is missing in most software development projects. Remember I said about feedback? Money being the best feedback. If people buy this, I'll do some more. If they don't, I'll throw it away. How many of you actually look at what you've delivered and see if it makes a difference? It's very easy for doing something that's a great big website and you can see sales or hits or something. If you're doing an internal corporate IT project, how do you know people are using your software? Review and evaluation inadequate. But why is this? Due to the focus on achieving cost, time, quality, and not on whether intended benefits. By going after cost, time, quality, etc., we're doing something that psychologists call goal displacement. Rather than facing up to the hard facts that the work you're doing is useless and no one will ever use it, you keep pursuing cost and benefit, or cost and schedule, and drives me mad. Show me the money. So look, the original version of No Projects Talk, I can slag off projects, and I've tried to, over time, put in a few suggestions for improvement here, solutions that might help you. Number one, it's very simple. Stop looking at those criteria and start focusing on the benefits. Start rating your projects on, are they delivering benefits? What is the end goal? Not schedule and costs and all the other rubbish. Ask not, when will the software be done? But ask, when will the software next deliver value? And if you set yourself up a nice continuous delivery pipeline, then hopefully the answer is going to be a couple of hours. Maybe you're not that good yet. A few days. Okay? When will we next get value? When will we next get benefit from this software development? Remember, benefit is not always value. There can be benefits other than financial benefits. If you're in an NGO, you're in a charity or something like that, it's like, it's cool. Value just makes it so much easier, but other things are applicable. When will you next get value? When will you next get benefit? Not when will it be done? Because done, where's my book gone? Done is a meaningless concept. What's that? Just think it's a stream of value. The value just keeps on coming. This means you've got to change your governance. If you work in an organization that does portfolio management or some kind of governance, you've got a problem, because most governance is based on project management criteria. Are you on the schedule? Are you on the cost? Are you on all the way? Are we 10% done? 20%? Who cares? If it's really valuable, it'll keep on giving. So you've got to change your governance systems. You need to say, what have you delivered for me lately? What have you given me? What value? What benefit? And can you prove it? Not just, we've delivered 2,000 lines of code. Valueless. Kevin Lee Henney says, code is not an asset, code is a liability. Functionality is an asset. So this means you need to change how you do portfolio review. I think portfolio review and governance should be like Dragon's Den. The product owner and maybe one techie walk into the room, and in front of them the portfolio review committee, and they sit there and they say, why should we give you more money for your project? Why should we keep your team working? What have you done for us lately? And you have to answer them. And you take questions, and if they like it, they give you some more money. They allow you to increase the team size. Or if they don't like it, they reduce you or cut you off. Make portfolio review iterative and make it like Dragon's Den. Get interactive. Yes. Just fixed schedules for portfolio review. Not this gated process where the project manager says, oh, we're not ready to go to a stage gate yet. We haven't finished doing something or other. Therefore, we'll delay it. Delay, delay, delay. Strip out the delays from your system. If you're not ready to go to a stage gate because you're not ready, you failed it. Yeah? Where we go? This is the second big problem. Software isn't temporary. Software doesn't stop. If people use your software, they will want changes. If people use your software, they'll have ideas, and saying, don't want to hear what you want, isn't a good thing because you're blocking off the value. And if people use your software and it's useful, they'll want it updating because technology changes. I know some of you still support XP and IE6, but most software has been ported onto more modern platforms. Only dead software stops changing. And I can prove this. The first time I did this talk was getting on for 2 years ago now, January last year. I went to SourceForge and I looked for some open source projects. Moodle's really big, popular learning management system. The week before I did this check, it had 23,000 downloads. That sounds like useful software to me. People see value, people are getting it. And it had just had a code update 3 days before. Coding and use proceed together. There's a thing called WebTorrent. I haven't got a clue what it is. It's a Python, written in Python for BitTorrent library. 0 downloads, and guess what? No one had changed the code for 9 months. Perl Lord, whatever that is, 0 downloads, no code changes for 18 months. If your code doesn't change, people aren't valuing it, people aren't asking for things. If people value your product, they will want changes, and you will want to change and improve your product. If they use it, it will change. Only dead software stops changing. Unfortunately, dead software is what project managers are trained to achieve. End dates cause more problems. End dates reduce quality, because you know that technical debt stuff you've been wrestling with for the last few months and you really want to refactor and fix? Since the end date is coming up, oh, we'll leave that. And also the team are supposed to be dispersed at the end of a project, so all the knowledge goes poof away. That also means we consider late breaking requirements inferior. If I gather all of your requirements over here and I write them down laboriously for 6 months and I get them approved, and one of the guys over here comes in the next day and says, you know what, it's just occurred to me, we need to have it read. There's a lot of value in doing a Manchester United website in red. Sorry, you've passed the cut-off gate, you've passed some stage gate, and we automatically consider late requirements to be less valuable. Why is that? You know, intuitively, I get a feeling that requirements you realize later on may well be worth more, because now you understand what you're doing, and the things you've now built, and perhaps the things you've talked about, and now people have thought about some more. Late breaking requirements may be inherently more valuable. But the project model says they're late. I keep saying the project model, I keep stacking off project managers, let's not be unfair to them. Many of you have never seen this before. If you're a hardcore developer, you might get a surprise here. A project, this is what our project managers are trained in. This is what our organizations agree on. This is the mental model of project management. A project is a temporary organization that is needed to produce a unique and predefined outcome with predetermined resources, constants. A temporary organization. Yeah, maybe your team is temporary, or maybe it's not temporary. They both have problems. Here's the American version, Project Management Institute. Same kind of idea. A project is defined by 2 key characteristics. Temporary. I think generally the the temporary nature, although it's not clear in these definitions, it comes out as having an end date. And I would say that's perhaps the defining feature of a project. Now we have a problem, which I'll come on to in a few minutes, about language here. When a project manager says project, he is picking up his Prince 2 or his PMI Bible, and when he says project, he means this. For many of you, a project is a thing you open in Eclipse. A project is a set of files. For many of you, a project is just this thing. The idea that it has an end date, and I've had developers at previous conferences who've seen this presentation, they've come to me afterwards and said, I didn't know that's what a project was. Think about it. If your project manager is thinking this and you're thinking something completely different, you aren't going to get on. You're going to have disagreements. Software development and project management, it's a match made in hell. Software is here forever. Well, hopefully here forever. Many software projects go away, but they're dead. Yeah? Project management is about managing the temporary. Now, this may seem like I'm splitting linguistic hairs here, but remember the project managers are trained in this stuff. They are measured. When they do Prince 2 and PMI qualification tests, this is what they're tested on. Now, it may be that your organization doesn't really run projects like that, but that's how it recruits project managers. You try getting a job in this square mile as a project manager without a Prince 2 or PMI certificate. You'll find it tough. You might get a job as a Scrum Master, but that's another story. The other thing is these rational end dates, and we talk about end dates. Capus Jones has something to say about this as well. More than half the large projects, they have predetermined end dates selected, which is forced on the project by an arbitrary decree. That wouldn't happen in the UK, would it? Nobody would come along, no. You know what? I actually don't think this is a problem. I'm all for end dates which come from arbitrary decrees. I'm all for deadlines, particularly those 2-week sprint iteration deadlines. I'm all for deadlines, I'm just not for end dates. We as humans are very good at working to end dates. And we can harness that. That's what we harness when we work in iterations and daily stand-ups and things like that. We can harness that benefit of end dates. We can harness the benefit of deadlines. I'm getting my own language mixed up here. We can harness the deadline effect. But the end dates induce bad thinking. They say, oh, we don't need to improve this code over here because the project will be over. Although right behind this project is another one. Look, the solution here is dead simple. Work to the business deadline. When the business come to you and say, we want all of this, how long will it take you to produce this? Just say no. You say to them, when do you want it by? We could take the same demand. Suppose we wanted to set up an online shop. Suppose we're going to sell things. We're going to sell things for Christmas. And I say to these guys, my budget's £1 million. Can you draw me up a project plan and tell me when it would be done? If we have a shop by Christmas, £1 million, right? Go and plan. And I say to these guys over here, I want to have a shop for Christmas. I've not got very much budget, and I'd really like it to be up by this Christmas. I bet we'd get 2 very different solutions, wouldn't we? The end date is just another engineering criteria, another engineering constraint. Most of you are engineers. You work within constraints. You work within the fact that you're working on ARM processors, perhaps. You work within the fact that your shop is a Python shop, perhaps. You work within a whole bunch of constraints. The end date is another one. Whether your solution is a fancy UI or a website or an iPhone app or command line interface, you can change these things. You can think about what solution can you build in that time. And it may be you build a rough thing, a minimal effort product. Let's be honest, minimal effort, not minimal viable product. Those words are abused. A minimal effort product right now, and later on we'll build some more effort product and some more effort product and keep on building it. Do good work within the constraints. And if the business say to you, I must have this as soon as possible, or if the business say, I must have this yesterday, you have to say, what is the value of this? What is the value of you having this tomorrow? You wanted this yesterday. How much was the value yesterday? Oh, £1 million. Yesterday's gone and we don't have a TARDIS, so we've blown £1 million. Oh dear. Nothing we can do about it. If the value tomorrow is £500,000, if we can get something out the door today, we can have a £500,000 tomorrow. Maybe in a week's time, the value is £400,000. Maybe in a month's time, the value is £300,000. You know, the time and value are intertwined in all sorts of interesting ways. It's not a question of how long will it take. It's a question of how valuable is it if you have it at different times, and does that value change? If the value doesn't change at all with time, then sure, do a great big traditional project. But if you find that the value declines over time, then think about what you can engineer to capture some of the value now. Deadline's good, end date's bad. End dates lead to all sorts of engineering compromises we don't want to make. Temporary organizations, the most destructive idea in software development. You work for a big corporate, they get a load of people in, they take some people from other parts of the company, they hire some contractors, they do all this work, and the project managers know it's a temporary organization. So come the end date, goodbye contractors, go back to every recruitment agency you crawled out of. Permies, go and find something else to do. Oh, you can't find something, oh, we better fire you then. All that knowledge goes. The knowledge is in your head. Doesn't matter how many documents you write. Doesn't matter how many documents you write, the knowledge is in your head. And the more documentation you write, the more documentation won't be read, and the more expensive the project will get when you write all the documentation. The knowledge is in your head. If you scatter that team to the four winds, you will lose that knowledge. Why do you want to do that? Because after all, you're a temporary organization. You spend all this time storming, norming, forming, performing. And anyone read a bit about teams? Maybe some of the presentations here today. These stages a team pass through. We're missing one out on the end, destroying. If it's a temporary organization, we're going to destroy the team at the end. Now, we go through storming, norming, forming. That costs money. It only gets paid back when we do performing. And then we destroy them. Why not keep the team together? Keep the team together and continue to exploit that team. That team is a core resource. That team has capability. That bit costs money, so get your money's worth. Keep the teams together. Don't destroy performing teams. If you destroy performing teams, you lose knowledge. Disbanding teams, capability, knowledge, performance, track record. I call it corporate psychopathy. When a company takes a performing team and says, goodbye. Of course, one of the problems here, I was talking to some people earlier today from a well-known bank which has an office all of about 20 yards from here. And we're talking about this. And they're saying, the truth is in their organisation is a team, and the team does a project on a code base. And the project ends, and that team do another project on the same code base. And that project ends, and the team does another project on the same code base. They do a project and a project and one project follows the other project. The team may change a little bit, but basically the same team and they do one project. And that's my experience of working in banks. That's my experience of a lot of corporations. I even heard today about a bank here where there's a project manager trying to say one project, one release. Oh, isn't that nice? What does The Guardian do? 300 releases a week. 300 projects a week finishing at The Guardian. That's going to cause a lot of work for project managers, isn't it? Don't release your staff. Learn to see your team as a productive resource. You might inject different projects into the team if you still genuinely have temporary things. The team is permanent. You bring different work to the team. Did somebody want that photo? Did you get it? Okay. Look, this is dead simple. Keep the team together, aim for continuity, bring the work to the team. Look, continuous flow. You heard about that today? I'm sure Dave mentioned it. Continuous improvement. I should have continuous delivery on here. Why haven't I got continuous delivery on here? Continuous improvement. Yeah? Oh yeah, I have. It's Friday. It's Friday. Calm down. I still have a bit of jet lag from this week. Continuous benefit. Continuous. We hear about this all the time at Agile conferences, don't we? You don't hear about temporary. Continuous is not temporary. I take you back to the Prince 2 and PMI definitions. Prince 2 and PMI tell you how to manage temporary things. Do you live in a temporary world? Temporary flow? No. Temporary improvement? Well, it might be if we're being honest, but we don't want it. Temporary delivery? What's temporary delivery? You roll back really quickly? Temporary benefits? No. Continuous is not temporary. Think of your team like a sausage machine. You keep the team together. You put in pork meat, you get pork sausages. You put in chicken meat, you get chicken sausages. You put in horse meat, you get beef sausages. Bring the work to the team. Bring the work in, push something out. If you put in work, a change request, the change request comes out. You ask them to change the colour of the website, a different colour of the website. You change the database. You don't need projects, you need teams. If you want to call a package of work a project, and I think Dan's been saying something about this. If you want to consider a package of work and a funding item as a package and call it a project, then by all means do it. Just don't have a temporary organisation delivering it. You have an organisation that has capability. And their capabilities centre around one of your products, one of your technologies. There's some common thing they centre around. And in time you may grow the team, you might shrink the team, people may join, people may leave, but on the whole the team is stable. You bring the different types of work to the team. How are we doing on time? Okay, we're getting there. 8 minutes, good. Look, keep the teams together, flow the work to the teams. Small things. Small things. This is the problem. Projects are big. Projects are big packages of work, big funding decisions signed off by big men with big checkbooks. Big, big, big. If your project process says you've got to go to your CEO to get a project signed off, it's going to have to be worthwhile him getting out of bed to sign it off, isn't it? And since he's a big man, he only signs off big things. You want to put more stuff in there. And a lot of projects can end up looking like those, that legislation they passed in America, they call it pork barrel politics. They want to build a new aircraft carrier, but not everybody in Congress wants to vote for a new aircraft carrier. So you find a senator here, the senator from Ohio, who's got a lot of pig farmers in Ohio, and the pig farmers could do with a bit of money. So right at the end of the aircraft carrier law, it says, we'll spend $2 billion developing an aircraft carrier. It says, and we'll give $50 million to pig farmers in Ohio. This is how American politics works. As all the bills go through spending all this money, there's all these riders on the end called pork. And the same is true of software projects. We may do it explicitly, we may have to add some pork, or it might just be that when your business analyst comes out and says, and what do you like from this software? And what do you like from this software? And he goes around and collects that list. There's all the things that people wanted before and haven't happened. There's all the things they think they might want in future. And they know there's things late-breaking requirements are valued less than things they thought of earlier. They better put some more things in for good fun. Yeah? We start doing it. They're big. Problem is, software development doesn't have economies of scale. You've all been brought up with economies of scale. Remember Henry Ford and his cars? And you all expect that when you go down to Tesco's to buy milk, that if you buy one of those big 4-pint cartons of milk, that's going to be cheaper than if you buy 4 1-pint cartons of milk. That's economies of scale. Whether you've studied economics or operational research, that's what you're all programmed to expect, isn't it? You've all heard this a million times, and it applies when you go down to Tesco's. Well, usually, sometimes they cheat on you, check the price labels. And it's true of milk. If you buy 4 1-pint cartons of milk, it's generally more expensive than buying 1 Margs carton of milk. Unfortunately, while this is true for milk, it's not true for software. Software is best bought in small cartons. You think about it, small user stories, small teams, small development, small deliveries, small comes up again and again in software development. Unfortunately, projects are organised for large. In software development, we keep going back to lots of little things. Small is cheaper. Projects try and make us go big. We want to work in the small. Software, 4 cartons of software milk will be cheaper than 1 big carton. And it reduces your risk. You buy a big carton of software milk and a tiny bit of it is gone off. You lose the whole carton. You lose 4 cartons in one go, 4 pints in one go. You buy 4 little cartons of milk and a little bit's gone off, a little bit of that milk will blue screen. You only lose 1. The other 3 are good. Suppose you do 1 release a year and that release contains a bug that will blue screen. Your users see every release you do blue screening their machine. If you do 1 release a week and you have 1 bug that blue screens the machine a year still, then they will see 51 releases that work and 1 that doesn't. Okay? Small cartons of milk are cheaper and they reduce the risk. Big increases risk. Hang on. No. Oh yeah. Huh? Yeah, stop thinking big, start thinking small. So I thought this was the slide I wanted. The order's slightly. Traditional project, suppose there's a risk. We calculate there's 30% risk this project. It's worth $1 million, so the value at risk is 300,000. Simple project management risk calculations we could argue with, but people do this. Suppose you split into two. Each one contains half of what you want. Each one contains half the risk. Each one contains half the value. It means the value at risk is now reduced. If you keep splitting it down further, you reduce it. 60,000 at risk here as opposed to 300,000. Lots of little releases will reduce your risk. And by the way, you'll probably get better at doing releases. You'll improve yourself. Forget about whether you improve or not, the usual argument. Just mathematically, you reduce the risk. You're doing these little things, and each one has a lot less risk. But you will get better. You will improve your processes. You will remember to press return each time. It's what we call batch size. We're not saying build this, wait a long time, build this, deliver this, wait a long time, and get lots of this. Saying, oh, hang on. This slide normally, I think I played with this deck. I shouldn't have done. This slide normally has a counterpart where it has lots of little bits coming. Little bits of functionality, little bits of delivery, little bits of money, little bits of functionality, little bits of delivery, lots of little bits. They all add up. So the end of projects. Projects are accounting codes. Projects are how we account for our time, for our money, for something else. Nothing more, nothing less. Finished software is dead software. At this point, there's a project manager in the room, isn't there? Somewhere a project manager sneaked in and he's fuming. He's angry because I have misrepresented projects. Because let's be honest, the project managers you work with, they're reasonable guys. They don't break up teams. They know teams stay together. They don't stick doggedly to requirements documents. They're not stupid. They understand a bit of value. Yeah, and they do allow change. They do consider value. They do work continuing. Alan Kelly here is very naughty because I just happen to have taken words from the project management textbook and used them to slag off project managers. But project managers are reasonable people who have good skills. By the way, I'm not one of those people who say there's no project managers on an Agile team. There might be a space for a project manager. I just want to understand what they do and where they add value, because a lot of those people who call themselves project managers have been in our industry for many years and they have a lot to add to the project, to the work, to the thing we're doing. It's just we need to understand where they are, because I have a thing with projects. It's projects that are the problem, not project managers. Many project managers are reasonable guys. I'm prepared to accept this. But in return, I would ask, what is a project? If your job title is a project manager, and you don't break up teams, you don't believe in temporary organizations, you don't stick doggedly to requirements, otherwise known as predefined requirements, predefined outcomes. If you're not sticking to them, then your Prince 2 definition is out the door, and your PMI definition is out the door. If you do allow change, you do consider value, you're not looking at those success criteria I talked about before, schedule, budget, and co. So what is a project? If you're a project manager who's reasonable, what is a project? And why have you got project manager in your title? You know what I think happened? Most of you can't remember. I think it's like Dave and I in the room who can remember the 80s and the 90s. And when we were entering the workforce, the in thing was delayering the organization. And you saw a lot of middle managers and junior managers being thrown out of organizations as they all went for flat hierarchies, and we cut those layers out. I think what really happened was those management layers we stripped out in the 90s, they reformed as project managers, and they told us they were temporary. Organizations need management. There is management work to do. And if you're a developer, suddenly finds you've got no manager, a lot of it might fall on you, and let's see how happy you are then. So, project managers can be reasonable people, but what's a project? And why does Prince 2 contain this definition? Why is Prince 2 misleading us? And what does a project manager actually manage? If a project's a figment of our imagination, what's a project manager? This is the third problem with projects, language. When we use the word project, we mean different things. When an investment committee use the word project, they're thinking about agreeing to spend a sum of money to try and achieve an outcome, and they're allocating money in chunks. When a project manager uses the word project, he's talking about those Prince 2 definitions. When a software developer uses the word project, you're probably thinking about a collection of files, or maybe a file in Eclipse, or an option on a menu somewhere. We mean different things. This is part of the reason we have this misunderstanding. So if you are a project manager, if you are reasonable, maybe sit down with your team and talk about what project actually is. I think we have a lot of what's called false projects. And this is very common in the larger organizations and some financial institutions. We use the language of projects, but we don't actually mean projects. We have a team and they do project X. And when project X comes to an end, the team do project Y, and the team is largely unchanged. You know, contractors come and go, but they come and go in the middle as well as at the boundaries. The team's largely unchanged, and they work on the same code base. And when project Y is finished, the same people more or less move on to the same code base and they do project Z. And right behind every project, there's another one waiting to come. I did some work with an organization you've never heard of, but is responsible for those devices in your pocket, the work. Every one of their projects ends on schedule on March the 31st. And the new projects all begin on April the 1st. Isn't that good? They always meet their deadlines. And I said, what happens if there's some work left over? Oh, we put that into the next project. And does anybody get made redundant if the funding doesn't? The funding always comes. Their projects were just aligned with the financial calendar. Yeah? Let's stop confusing people. The word language of projects confuses people. It means different things to different people with different constraints. This is my model. Waterfall 2.0. Continuous. Continuous flow. Continuous delivery. Continuous requirements. It keeps on coming. We keep on delivering stuff. Yeah, this is what we need to get good at. Doing work in the little small molecules, coming down, falling down, coming out, and we're valuable. Do that. Get good at it. Go fast. Seek out the value, and don't stop. This means we've got to change the way we manage, because while management is based around projects, management is optimized for big. In software, we're good at lots of small things. We need to rethink how management happens so we're optimized for small. And actually, a lot of that is about portfolio management, governance, and yes, project management. Base ourselves around teams. Crazy, isn't it? Do you think it could ever work? There's a place where this works really well. Basically, everywhere within about 100 miles of Sand Hill Road, Palo Alto. These are the people who do it. These are all venture capital companies. Any of you tried to raise funding for a startup, particularly a startup in California? You go to the venture capitalist and you say, me and my mates in our garage, we built something. Do you see it's good? And they go, oh yes. They might ask you for a business plan. These days they ask you for a very slim business plan. You say, we think we can do a load of good stuff with this, and we think there's a big market and we make loads of money. And if you convince them, they'll invest a little bit of money. But they'll give it to you in tranches. They'll give you a little bit today, and they'll promise to give you some more in 3 months and some more in 3 months. But you'll have to go back to them in 3 months, and you'll have to show to them that you have actually improved the product. You can work together as a team, and in some way you've improved the understanding of your customers and maybe some people who've bought it. And you'll do that. And eventually they'll say, you know what, you need a lot more money. We'll introduce you to some friends, and they'll all pile in for a lot more money. But they want to see that you are delivering benefit, that your team is capable of doing something. And they want to see that you've checked out your market, that you now understand the market, and maybe people are giving you money. And if you keep doing that, one day you'll be profitable. But hey, look, you know, Amazon still aren't profitable, and they've been doing this long enough. You know, if you do it well, you'll get more money from them, and eventually you'll be able to make money yourselves. And as for governance, do you know what happens? You go out of business. If you can't deliver stuff, if you can't sell stuff, if there isn't a market there, you go out of business. And these guys accept this. These guys accept that perhaps 9 out of 10 investments lose them money. They go out of business. And perhaps 1 in 10 breaks even, and 1 in 100 is a Google, and they'll get all their money back. In the corporate world especially, we don't do failure. We don't have the option for things not to work. We extend our deadlines. We give them more money, etc., etc. Venture capitalists know to let things burn out. They let the failures come out. You get a Darwinian effect. It's like natural selection. If we can't have failures in big corporations, if we can't have things that don't work, everything has to work. If everything has to work, then you're going to want a load of guarantees up front. That means you're going to need all that predefined requirements. And if you don't have failure as an option, you're going to keep on asking for more money, you're going to keep on getting more money. Oh, the organisers would like me to ask you to rate this section by saying red, orange, green. Frankly, I find that useless. Knowing that 50% of the people liked it, 10% of the people didn't understand it, and 40% disliked it, probably because they're project managers, doesn't help me. But the organisers would find it very, very useful, know where to book me again. Questions?
Yeah, they can put in a question as a comment so that you know more.
Put in a question. Can they actually do that on the app? Yeah. Ah, very good. I didn't get that. I've been to several conferences before where people drop cards, and the organisers send me a mail and say, "You got 15 green cards." Like, that's not actionable feedback. This sounds like actionable feedback. Please rate it. Thank you. Yes, we're saying thank you. We've got a few minutes for questions. I overran slightly, but hey, I'm in charge of the schedule and I'm up here. John.
What's your opinion on roadmaps? The management want to excite potential customers with roadmaps, promising features down the line. What's your opinion on that?
Like estate agents, isn't it? Telling you how the new house could be. You know, these are the things you could do. Roadmaps for me are possibilities. They're maybes. They aren't promises. They're roadmaps. A lot of roadmaps, most of what's on a roadmap, you don't really need to show your customers. For me, what should be on roadmaps are things like what do we see happening in the world in the next, if the roadmap's 5 years, say, what do we see happening in the world in the next 5 years? There are some things you already know are going to happen in 5 years' time. In 5 years' time, there will be an election in this country. That might or might not be important to you. In 5 years' time, we might opt for a radical socialist alternative. If you believe that, in 5 years' time, we know some laws that we pass in the next few years because they're already approved at EU level. They're being turned into laws by our civil servants and will be passed shortly. And that means shortly afterwards they'll be adopted by Germany and France too. We already know about the trade shows we attend because most companies attend the same trade shows year after year after year. We already know about some new developments in our industry. We already know about tech. All this stuff feeds into the roadmap. The roadmap paints a picture of how the world will be in the future. It doesn't give us a definite description of how the world should be. There was a load of work done at Shell a few years back on a thing called scenario planning, about trying to understand how the world might be, not so that you can plan and be ready for that world when it happens, but so that your minds are used to thinking about what could or might not happen. So roadmaps, I think, contains a lot of this maybe, what if, what is happening. Attached to that, I think there's ideas for functionality, there's ideas for where you may develop your software, and they can be plonked on at different dates. You can say, look, in 2 years' time, you can say, right now, the EU has agreed to a new law about, I don't know, drug regulation. And that will come through the pipe, and in 2 years' time, it will be in effect in the UK. Do we want to change our software so that it can work like this? Well, that might be a no-brainer, you might have to. Or is there something we could do which means our software could exploit a new market which is going to be opened up by this change? You can put that on a roadmap. You could even show that potential customers and say, you know what, there's this new legislation coming in 2 years' time. We're thinking about doing something for it. You could go further. You could call that your first MVP. You put an item on a roadmap, you show it to customers. If the customer gets excited, that's your first bit of customer validation. But just because an item is on a roadmap does not mean you've promised to do it. Items on a roadmap are by definition an epic. And that doesn't mean you have to do them. You put them on a roadmap, it may or it may not happen. As time goes by, as you get closer to those dates on the roadmap, you need to think about moving that in. Because there's going to be a lot of stuff, a lot of maybes on your roadmap. So when you get 6 months, 3 months out, you need to be thinking, those things on the roadmap, they've been sitting on the roadmap for 2 years, and nobody's been interested in them. Throw them away. There's some items on the roadmap, and people got so excited about them, we could sell them today. But maybe there's no value today. Maybe they can't use them today. Maybe as long as they are developed within 18 months, and then you don't have to begin work on them immediately. So I'm all for roadmaps, but I don't think roadmaps are promises, and roadmaps should be considering more than just features. How will the world be? Unfortunately, a lot of small software companies, even some larger ones, their product guys seem to be an extension of the sales department, and as you put a large check under their nose, they suddenly start jumping up and down. If you read a guy called Marty Kagan, Silicon Valley Product Group, he's really good on this stuff, and he talks about specials. If you keep doing specials for customers, yeah, you'll get the revenue from them, but you won't scale your product because you're going after what this product wants, and that, you've got to think about the market. Anyone else?
Having the argument that software is dead at the project end is quite hard when the project managers have put in a phase towards the end of the project that involves transitioning your software into support in my organisation.
Yeah. And that's a symptom of the disease. They see your team as temporary. What they're saying is, we need all the really bright guys to build the software. They can build, and then we'll give it to these guys. These guys are half the price, they're a long way away. They can't really build new software. It's that kind of thinking. When you've got the knowledge in their heads, unless, you could bring in some of these new people, and you could share the knowledge and culture them and get them to learn it, but you can never have that kind of knowledge transfer. It never happens. People put that on plans, people talk about it, it doesn't really work. It only really works if, for the first 6 months or whatever, the people you've transitioned it to are learning what you did. It's a very inefficient way of working. In the extreme, it kills software, because the people who are taking it over don't really understand it. I'm also a believer that when it comes to maintaining software and fixing bugs, it's where your best programmers are needed. You need your best people to make the changes, because all of you who've done a training course in software are trained how to build software, aren't you? Every course at university teaches you how to build software. How many of you are trained in how to maintain software? What a surprise, none of you. There's 1 or 2 places in the world where they train people to maintain software. But most of what you do is maintain existing software and fix stuff. What you're describing is a very nasty symptom of the disease, which unfortunately makes it harder to fix. Basically, I think if you just forbid people in your organisation from using the word project, just replace the word project by white space, you probably get on a lot better. I should remember that. Replace the word project by white space and be better. Please, someone tweet it so I remember it afterwards. Anyone else? I have to stop there. Okay. Sorry if I shortchanged you on questions. Vote for this session. Put in a question. Put in your comments. How can I improve it? I fiddled with the slides and I made it worse. I apologise. I promise to do it again. So next time I have.